Greetings fellow Decepticons, SoundBlaster1987 here with my monthly vlog for January 2025. Today I'll be going over the history of one of the most famous fictional superheroes of all time outside of DC and Marvel, the greatest Power Ranger that ever lived, Tommy Oliver, or Dr. Thomas Oliver PhD as he would later be called in the Dino Thunder era due to his PhD in paleontology. So, the reason I'm reviewing the life of Tommy Oliver now is because it's 2025, the year in which the Power Rangers SPD series was supposed to take place, and the SPD and Dino Thunder crossover episode Wormhole was my first experience with the character of Tommy Oliver. So, the story begins way back in 1993 with the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers series, with a 5-part episode storyline Green with Evil, which featured 19-year-old Tommy Oliver as a new student at Angel Grove High School, befriending the original cast of 5 Rangers pretty quickly, because he ended up starting to flirt with Kimberly a little bit around the lockers area and sharing Jason and Zach's affinity for martial arts training in the gym and that kind of thing. But it wasn't long until Tommy was basically ambushed by putty patrollers and kidnapped to Rita Repulsa's palace on the moon, where she basically hypnotized him with her evil magic to become the evil Green Power Ranger, using the Godzilla-like Dragonzord power coin. The Dragonzord does bear more similarities to Godzilla than actual dragons in terms of its upright bipedal shape, similar to the original Tyrannosaurus Dinozord design, and it can be summoned by the flute-like function of the Green Ranger's Dragon Dagger when held to the mouthplate of the helmet and played like a clarinet or flute type of thing. So, as the evil Green Ranger, Tommy was the most powerful yet, but he'd already sussed the identity of the other Rangers due to what Rita Repulsa had told him during the time that she was mind-controlling him. In addition to the Dragon Dagger, the evil Green Ranger was also in possession of the Sword of Darkness, a weapon that was directly bonded to Rita's mind control over him. As long as he was holding that sword, he was an unredeemable villain under Rita's control. So, luckily Jason the Red Ranger managed to destroy that sword in part 5 of the episode, breaking Rita's control but keeping Tommy able to use the Green Ranger powers. In order to make up for the misdeeds he caused as the evil Green Ranger under Rita's control, Tommy joined Jason and the others immediately to make good where he previously gone bad. And thus the origin of the 6th Ranger as a continual member of the team was born. It was at this point that the Dragonzord was able to combine with the main Megazord to form the Mega Dragonzord, or the other 4 Zords minus the Tyrannosaurus as the Dragonzord Warrior mode. And then of course the original Ultrazord came in when Titanus, the Brachiozord type of thing, came along as a sort of carrier, battle chariot type of thing, which the Mega Dragonzord would obviously ride inside of. Then in Season 2 of the original series, Tommy's powers were drained by the evil warlord Lord Zed, who used the power candles to slowly drain away all of the other Rangers' powers as well, but Tommy's was the only one to be fully affected by the time the green candle burnt out. However, this was not the end of the Green Ranger story, because Lord Zed used the energy stolen by the power candle to create an evil clone of the Green Ranger called Tom Oliver. And there was also a putty patroller clone called the Mutant Green Ranger as well at one point. The Green Ranger would also return in the Power Rangers Dino Thunder episode Fighting Spirit as a coma dream that Tommy Oliver slipped into when the Black Dino Gem was broken. He ended up having to fight the Green Ranger unmorphed in order to regain a fragment of the Dino Gem inside his subconscious in the coma dream, alongside the Mighty Morphin White Ranger and the Zeo Red Ranger, who I'll cover in a moment. After the destruction of the Green Ranger powers, Tommy basically felt useless and abandoned the team for a while, until he ended up coming back when Zordon and Alpha 5 created the new White Ranger powers for him to use, which gave him the use of a talking sword called Saba and the White Tiger Zord, which could combine with the Rangers' new Season 2 Thunderzord team to form either the Mega Tiger Zord or the Thunder Ultrazord, depending on the configuration used at the time. The White Ranger was also the one who had access to the ninja powers in Season 3, with a, white fabric, unmorphed ninja costume variant that could then transform into the usual spandex White Ranger suit, and as well as that also having access to both the Falcon Zord and the, White Shogun Zord, as well as having partial control of the other Ninja Megazord components, and being able to resume use of Titanus Vicaria Zord for the Ninja and Shogun Ultra Zords, which were American exclusive forms because they used a combination of stop motion from using the toys and such. That's why every time you see the Shogun Ultra Zord appear in the TV show, it's got a pink left arm, because the original Japanese version of the Shogun Megazord had a White Ranger, not a Pink Ranger, controlling the left arm component of that combination. So, because the White Shogun Zord was shared between Kimberly and Tommy, and later Kat Hillard in Season 3 of the Power Rangers series, the original American toy release did have a pink left arm for the White Shogun Zord component to show that it belonged to the Pink Ranger. So that's why, for those who are wondering why the Shogun Megazord scenes where it was in the Ultra Zord with Titanus had a pink left arm instead of a white one, because they were using stop motion with the toys and such. But back to Tommy Oliver. In the Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers spin-off series, at the end of Season 3, when all the Rangers got reverted to children, when Rita's father, Master Vile, reversed the spin of the Earth to de-age the Rangers so that they wouldn't be compatible with their power coins anymore, Tommy Oliver still led the White Ranger, he still led the original Ranger team in an attempt to basically coordinate with the new alien Rangers from the planet Aquitar that Zordon and Alpha 5 had summoned to help, in order to continue having a Ranger presence on Earth while the original team were unable to use their powers, because the power coins didn't recognize their prepubescent genetic material. But during the time when the alien Rangers were protecting the Earth, the de-aged original Ranger team ended up having to search far and wide across the world for fragments of their all-powerful crystal power source called the Zeo Crystal. And this is what gave Tommy Oliver his red Zeo Ranger powers in the following season, once they got their original ages back at the end of the series. In 1995, there was a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers live-action movie as well, in which Tommy was also the White Ranger, though there are some YouTube dubs and CGI edits and such like that turned him back into the Green Ranger as well for the style of the movie. Yes, much like the third season of the TV show, the White Ranger gained ninja powers during the movie, and ended up being able to use the Falcon Zord as basically a glorified jetpack booster wing thing from a Ninja Megazord, just like in Season 3. And once again, he was both the White Ranger and the team leader in Season 3 and the movie. Then, Zeo was the first time that Tommy Oliver would be both the Red Ranger and the team leader, because the Red Ranger is normally the leader of the team. So, Tommy Oliver actually had 3 separate Zords working simultaneously throughout the Zeo series. There was Zeo Zord 5, a bird that became the head and the winged jetpack of the Zeo Megazord. The Red Battle Zord, an independent boxing-themed component that was able to combine onto the Zeo Megazord to create a new form. And finally there was Super Zeo Zord 5, which formed the core torso of the Super Zeo Megazord. All 3 of these were individually separate components that could either be operated independently or combined with others to form various Megazord combinations. But of course Tommy could only be in one place at a time, because obviously, unlike the Yellow Ranger of SPD, he doesn't have the natural ability to copy himself. Then, in the Turbo Power Rangers movie feature film, the Zeo Rangers transitioned to the Turbo powers in order to stop the space pirate Divatox from attacking the Earth. Then Tommy would remain a Red Turbo Ranger for halfway through the Turbo TV series after the timing of the movie, because unlike the Mighty Morphin movie, the Turbo movie is still within the main timeline of the series itself, whereas the Mighty Morphin movie took place in an alternate timeline. But yes, halfway through the Turbo series, Tommy was rescued by a group of new characters who would later end up becoming the second half of the series' replacement Turbo Ranger team, with the exception of 12-year-old Justin, who stayed the Blue Ranger for the whole of the series. Tommy's replacement, Theodore T.J. Jarvis Johnson, would later go on to be the Blue Ranger of the following season, Power Rangers in Space, as well. Tommy and TJ would reunite later on in the Power Rangers Wild Force anniversary special Forever Red, as the first 10 Red Rangers, not counting Rocky DeSantos, who was apparently unavailable, all teamed up together on the Earth's moon to stop the remnants of the Zeo villains, the Machine Empire, from making a comeback, using Lord Zed's Dragonzord Serpentera as their means of escaping the Moon Palace. Most of the Machine Empire generals in this feature episode were actually scrambled reuses of Big Bad Beetleborgs and Beetleborgs Metallics costumes because of the Bandai America licensing rights and such like for that adaptation of another Japanese series. For those who don't know the franchise very well, the character of Tommy Oliver was played by an actor called Jason David Frank, who is also one of the world's greatest mixed martial arts superstars, who sadly took his own life a couple of years ago. Jason David Frank was also set to be the main cast member of another American adaptation of a Tokusatsu series from Japan, which was originally going to be called Cybertron, but a couple of complaints from Hasbro over the misuse of the name of the Transformers homeworld led to the series being reworked into VR Troopers, and Jason David Frank was cut from the cast. Probably just as well, because he would probably not been able to be in two places at once between Power Rangers and Cybertron anyway. Although he didn't appear as the character of Tommy Oliver in the 2017 live-action Power Rangers film, Jason David Frank did appear in the Megazord fight, filming the situation as part of the crowd, along with fellow Mighty Morphin co-star Amy Jo Johnson, who played Kimberly, the original Pink Ranger, and Tommy Oliver's first girlfriend of the original series. But after Tommy and Kimberly broke up in Season 3, Tommy started dating Kimberly's replacement, the second Pink Ranger, Catherine Hillard, instead. And Tommy and Kat are still together all the way through Zeo, Turbo, and all the way to the alternate future of some of the comic book storylines, which I'll cover in a moment. After the Wild Force Forever Red episode, Tommy Oliver would take a back seat for another couple of years till he returned as the main mentor of the Power Rangers Dino Thunder series in 2004, in which he would later become a Black Ranger. Now, because Jason David Frank was partially unavailable for filming in-person scenes for when Tommy was unmorphed throughout the series, a storyline was built into the series where he would record his voice lines for the Black Ranger suit over the phone, but not appear in person because the Black Ranger had been unable to transform back into his unmorphed state after being trapped in amber by Zeltrax at one point of the series. Even when he was freed from the amber, he was unable to power down for most of the rest of the series, due to Jason David Frank's other commitments elsewhere. He would also continue to voice the Black Ranger in the Power Rangers SPD episode Wormhole, which I mentioned before, when Emperor Grum, the main villain of SPD, travels back in time through a space wormhole 20 years to 2005, just after the events of Dino Thunder. Just enough after the series where the Rangers still have their powers, but not enough for Mesogog to have been truly defeated yet. So it's not quite after the end of the series, but, you know, Mesogog and Grom team up, Zeltrax is still involved and all that. So, the SPD Rangers travel back in time to stop him, and the Shadow Ranger of SPD, the main mentor and sixth Ranger of that team, ends up teaming up with Tommy Oliver to fight Zeltrax a couple of times. So, yet again, this is another instance of Tommy Oliver dubbing his lines through phone recordings and not appearing in person for the episode. There was also the two-part Ninja Storm Dino Thunder crossover episode, Thunderstorm, in which Tommy Oliver teamed up with the Ninja Storm Rangers as well as the Dino Thunder Rangers to fight off a hybrid of Lothar and Mesogog's forces from the two series working together. Then, after that, Tommy Oliver would appear in archive footage in one form or another, And then the Green Ranger would return once again in the, legendary battle at the end of Power Rangers Super Megaforce, the second season of the Megaforce series. He would return once again through archive footage throughout Beast Morphers and Dino Fury as part of the Ranger archive, when various Rangers from those series were researching the past Ranger powers and villains and such like. And of course, although Tommy Oliver didn't appear in the 2017 Power Rangers movie, he did have a sort of sequel hook type of thing going on in a mid-credit scene where a green leather jacket was seen on the back of a chair and a teacher was calling out to Tommy Oliver being absent from class as a potential sequel hook for Tommy taking over Rita's powers as the Green Ranger in that universe for the next film, which sadly never happened due to the underperformance of that film. Then, in Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel, the 25th anniversary episode, Dimensions in Danger saw the last ever appearance of Jason David Frank on screen as Tommy Oliver. Although he would reprise the role of an evil Tommy Oliver called Lord Drakon from a parallel universe in the comics for a, live-action trailer for the Shattered Grid comic crossover event at one point. But apart from that, Tommy Oliver was leading the charge with the Super Ninja Steel Rangers against an army of android copies of the Rangers, including an evil version of himself. Not the first time he had to fight an evil version of himself, because again there was the Coma Dream battle in the Dino Thunder episode Fighting Spirit. Then there was of course the evil clones of the Green and White Rangers and such across the Mighty Morphin era. And Lord Drakon in the comics, who I'll touch on in a separate video. But basically, Lord Drakon as an evil version of Tommy Oliver never redeemed himself from Rita Repulsa's control. Jason became a White Ranger in his timeline, and Jason got killed by the evil Green Ranger, who then fused the White Ranger powers into himself, becoming a Green and White Ranger hybrid, with a sadistic, evil, twisted version of Saba the Talking Tiger Sword working with him. But again, I'll touch on that more in another video. For now, the last appearances of Tommy Oliver in the series have been in the comic book, specifically an alternate future graphic novel called Soul of the Dragon, in which Tommy Oliver comes out of retirement because his son JJ Oliver has got caught up in a bit of a bad situation. JJ would later redeem himself and inherit the Dragon Shield chestplate from Tommy's original Green Ranger suit and join the new generation of SPD after the events of the original SPD TV series, in which basically Jack left the team, so Z and Bridge and Sky and Sid were all still Rangers. The Shadow Ranger became the overall commander of all of SPD when the Supreme Commander Fowler Birdie retired, so at this point Bridge is the Red Ranger, JJ Oliver becomes the new Green Ranger, Sky has been elevated to the former Shadow Ranger position, the Deca Ranger, as a reference to the Sentai series where SPD came from, and the Power Rangers Hyperforce RPG series character Lena Song became the new female Blue Ranger of the team. Tommy Oliver did also make a few cameo appearances in the, Hyperforce RPG livestream series, but apart from that, the Green Ranger did appear in the anniversary special once and always, but it wasn't Jason David Frank doing the voice because I think he'd already taken his own life by the time that special had come out, unfortunately. But basically, the Yellow Ranger, the original Yellow Ranger Trini, had been murdered by an android replica of Rita Repulsa, who basically sacrificed herself to stop Tommy Oliver receiving a fatal blast. And apart from that, the last thing that Jason David Frank did in the Tokusatsu realm was a Power Rangers parody spin-off type of thing called Legend of the White Dragon, which was basically combining once again the Green and White Ranger Mighty Morphin suit abilities and such like. Jason David Frank also appeared in a couple of fan films from the Superpower Beatdown series by the YouTube channel Bat in the Sun, specifically the Green Ranger vs. Ryu from Street Fighter and the White Ranger vs. Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Or was it the other way round? Anyway, that more or less concludes my look back at the life of the Tommy Oliver character from the Power Rangers series. I've been SoundBlaster1987, thanks again for watching. And my next vlog for February will be a Valentine's Day special, which will look back at the history of Optimus Prime and Alita 1's relationship in the Transformers franchise. Till then, till all are one, and may the power protect you, always.